You know that image, right? Mary at the foot of the cross, watching her son die. It's got to be one of the most famous pictures of suffering in history. But what if there's something huge we've all been missing? What if the real story isn't just about sorrow, but about a kind of strength we rarely talk about? Let's take a new look. So, our first reaction, the one we've been taught to see, is pure, devastating grief. I mean, of course it is. You see a mother just broken, helpless, watching this unspeakable tragedy unfold. It looks like the very definition of despair. But what if that's not the whole story? What if what we're actually seeing isn't helplessness at all? What if it's a moment of absolutely incredible active strength? That's the idea we're going to unpack right now. Okay, so how do we get there? Well, the key, the real clue, is hidden in a single word that's used to describe Mary's entire way of being. The Gospel of Luke says she pondered things in her heart. That one word, that's our entry point. So, be honest, when you hear the word ponder, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's, deep thought, quiet reflection, maybe sitting in a chair and just mulling things over. But what if the original meaning was way more intense and way more active than that? See, our modern idea of pondering is almost entirely shaped by Greek philosophy. Socrates saying an unexamined life is not worth living. In that world, to ponder is to think, to analyze, to reflect. It's an intellectual workout, basically. But here's the twist, and this is absolutely crucial. The Gospels didn't come out of a Greek classroom. They came from a Hebrew world with a Hebrew mindset, and that changes the meaning of this word completely. In the original Hebrew way of thinking, to ponder was something you did with your whole being. It meant to take in all the tension, all the pain, all the negativity of a situation, and to hold it, carry it, and actively transform it so that you don't just spit it back out at the world. The theologian Ronald Rolheiser nails it with this quote. He says that whatever energy we don't transform, we will transmit. Think about that. Any pain, any anger, any bitterness we don't deal with inside ourselves, we just end up passing it on to someone else. Pondering in this sense is stopping that chain reaction. So just look at this comparison right here. It's night and day. Greek thought says, think it through, analyze it. Hebrew thought says, hold it, carry it, transform it. One is in your head, the other is in your soul, and this changes everything about what Mary is doing at the cross. All right, so with this powerful new definition in our back pocket, let's go back to that scene at the cross. Let's really look at it again, but with these new eyes. On the surface, it really looks like she's doing nothing, doesn't it? She's not saying a word. She's not screaming about how unfair it all is. She's not pleading for his life. She's just quiet, mute. It looks like total passivity. But underneath that quiet exterior, she's actually doing the hardest work anyone could possibly do. She is pondering. She's taking in all the hatred, all the violence, all the injustice of that moment, and she is refusing to become hateful and bitter herself. It's a deep, powerful form of resistance. And here's another clue, a tiny detail that's a huge deal. The scripture is so specific. It says Mary was standing. She wasn't kneeling. She wasn't collapsed on the ground in a heap of despair the way so many artists have imagined it. She was standing. And in the language of the Gospels, that posture says everything. Standing is a position of strength, of endurance. To be prostrate, to be on the ground, would mean you've collapsed, you've been defeated by it all. Her physical stance is mirroring her spiritual one. She is holding her ground. Can you imagine the conversation going on inside her? It might be something like this, a realization that, okay, I can't stop this horrible event from happening. I'm powerless over that. But I can stop the hatred that's causing it from spreading through me. I can refuse to give it back. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with us? Well, everything. Because this isn't just an ancient story, it's a blueprint. It's a model for how we can navigate the pain and suffering that's inevitable in our own lives. It really breaks down into 3 steps. First, she refused to pass the hurt on. Second, she swallowed it. She absorbed the pain and didn't deflect it. And third, the hardest part, she transformed it. She turned that poison into something like grace, something like forgiveness. That is pondering in action. Our gut reaction is always to run from pain, right? To numb it, ignore it, push it away. But what this teaches us is that real healing only starts when we're brave enough to actually turn towards our suffering and hold it, just like Mary did.
And here's the great paradox of it all. If we do that work, if we stand in our pain and try to transform it, that very suffering can actually become the path to a deeper joy and peace. It's not the obstacle in our way, it's actually the doorway we have to walk through.
So I'll just leave you with this question well, to ponder in the truest sense of the word. When you look at your own life, your own frustrations, your own moments of helplessness and pain, where are you being called not to fight back, not to collapse, but to simply stand, to hold it all and transform it?